Hey everybody, welcome back to the ECG of the day. My name is Reed. Don't forget that you can download a PDF of today's ECG down in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content. So let's get started. So the first thing I like to do when I look at ECGs is look at the forest, and the trees of the forest are my QRS complexes. And guys, I'll be honest, this is a very complex strip. I would say this is an advanced kind of level of interpretation with this. So we start off with this strip. If we look down here in V5, what we've got is a narrow complex rhythm that is quite slow, right? If I measured the intervals here, I would count this as 300, 150, 100, 75, 60, 50, probably less than 43. I'd call this 40 beats per minute. So we're very bradycardic at the beginning. And if I look at those initial bradycardic rhythms, I notice that they're narrow. So they're likely coming from at least the AV node being passed down. But look, there's no P waves. There's no P waves before these. So this is a junctional escape rhythm to begin with. Okay? We're going to kind of deviate from our normal approach because this is such a complex rhythm. So we've got a junctional escape rhythm at the beginning. We know that junctional escapes arise from the AV junction at a rate of 40 to 60 beats per minute. Okay? So this is kind of on par with junctional escape. So when you see 40 beats per minute, you should look for a narrow complex. Yeah, let's see if there's a P wave. There's not. And then what happens is we've got this funky beat. We've got this funky beat that's wide and early. And then what happens? We've got a rhythm that speeds up briefly. And that rhythm is a sinus rhythm. We've got these P waves that conduct to our QRSs for 3 beats, and we notice that the rhythm is going faster, right? This is like 300, 150, 100, 75, 60. This is like 65 beats per minute, which is in line with the sinus node firing off, right? So the sinus node's firing off for 3 beats at least with those narrow complex rhythms, but it occurs after this wide, funky beat. We got to really think about what's going on there. And then you'll notice we have another pause, and that pause is long enough so that we get another narrow complex beat with no P wave. And so this is a junctional escape beat. And then look what else happens. We get another funky, wide, early beat. And then we have our sinus rhythm that ensues, and then, whatever happens after that. So we see we have junctional escapes. We see that those junctional escapes are followed by these runs of sinus rhythms that start off with this really early beat that is just funky. So we're wondering, like, what is it? Well, it's wide, so it could be a PVC, right? So first thought is, are those funky beats premature ventricular contractions, or are they PAC with aberrancy? Remember that PAC is with aberrancy. What that means is if you have an early atrial contraction, so remember that if we get normal AV node function, the sinus node fires, we get depolarization, right? Anything that causes the AV node to send signal down, it could even be a junctional beat. We get signal that goes down our right and left bundle branches. This is our His-Purkinje system, right? And we also know that there's this really funky phenomenon where the right bundle branch takes longer to recover compared to the left bundle. So if we get a premature contraction that occurs where we get atrial depolarization, AV node captures the beat, and if it sends it down right in the moment where the right bundle branch is blocked, but the left bundle branch is not blocked, we call this functional aberrancy, or a functional right bundle branch block, because for that one beat it's blocked. And so for all of our wide complex beats, we always, that come early compared to what we expect, we always have to look for atrial activity. So let's do that here. So first clue is in V1, the morphology of this wide early beat has an RSR prime. It has an RSR prime. That is the morphology of a right bundle branch block. But we know that we can have PVCs with that morphology, so we got to look in front of it. And I look in front, and I'll do it in red, and I see my previous ST and T wave is nice and gradual, but look at this one. I've got this sharp hump. That's a P wave. So that's a P wave that occurs just after a long beat. Remember, the refractory period is longer whenever we have bradycardia. So the longer the beat is prior, the longer refractory periods are of the tissues that are conducting that signal. And so especially when you have a P wave that occurs right after a long interval, we call this long short. If that occurs right after, you have a higher likelihood of having one of these functional right bundle branch blocks. And that's what we're getting. So what are we having here? What is going on? We've got this junctional rhythm. And this P wave is actually a sinus P wave. The sinus node wakes up finally. Thank you, sinus node. And that P wave wakes up, as you can see, as it starts to beat and beat and beat. And it just happens to wake up right after a junctional rhythm that's very long R to R interval before. And so it conducts with this functional right bundle branch block. This is called Ashman phenomenon. This is really common, and it'll make people think this is a PVC, but it's not. It's a PAC with aberrancy. And so I have a video that'll be out at this point for you to go to on my lecture page on YouTube and watch it. It's about 20 minutes. It goes through the exact pathophysiology. And so then we get these normal beats, like we said, beat, beat, beat. Then we have another pause. That's our long. And then look at what happens. Our SA node fires off to make a P wave again, right? There's our P wave. It's early. It conducts to this RSR prime, another functional right bundle branch block. How freaking cool is that? This is so cool, right? And then the sinus node is just beating again. So the sinus node just happens to be waking up right after these junctional beats. So this person's got evidence of sinus node dysfunction, which is driving these junctional rhythms. And then when the sinus node wakes up, it happens to wake up right after a long R to R interval where the refractory period of all these tissues is longer. The right bundles is just long enough compared to the rest that we have a functional right bundle branch block. Pretty cool. That doesn't mean that we are immune to things like long QT intervals, abnormal QRS complexes. So our QRS is upright in lead 1, and it's upright in AVF. It's normal axis, right? We don't have, we have good R wave progression through the precordium. That's good. My QT interval seems to be appropriate. If I look for pathological Q waves, I don't see any, and I don't see any ST or T wave changes. So let's put this all together. What do we have? We've got a junctional escape rhythm with intermittent sinus beats that conduct with functional right bundle branch block. So no premature ventricular contractions here. That's why it's always important when you see a wide, complex, funky beat, always look for PAC with aberrancy. So I hope this helps you kind of understand how you can see this in real life. Go watch that lecture video. I'll link it at the end of this video for you. And thank you so much for enjoying the channel. If you do, subscribe. If not, leave a comment and tell me what you would like to see different. So, alrighty. See you on the next ECG video. Take care.